Would you like to know the two most important parts of your brain? If you're a human, if you're listening to those words, you should want to know this. It's very important. Hi, my name's Jesse. Welcome to the channel, Open Source Owners, where we talk about and try to answer the question, what if humans had an owner's manual? Let's get right into it. The first most important part you've probably heard of, it's referred to as the prefrontal cortex or the frontal lobe. It's this part of your brain right here. You don't want to get brain damage there. You probably all know about the reasons why that is the case. But let's get into exactly why this is the most important part of your brain, especially for things like mental health and focus and energy. Well, the prefrontal cortex is the seat of logic, problem solving, creativity, communication. So we really need that to be working. If we're struggling to manage emotions, then the prefrontal cortex is probably not really active for us. And critically, it goes offline when the amygdala goes online. Hint, the amygdala might have something to do with secret number 2. But this is important, as we shall see when we talk about the amygdala. When the amygdala is activated, we're in a fight and flight mode. And when that happens, the logical brain basically goes offline, or at least it shunts most of its energy into sort of survival and away from, complex problem solving, logic, and creativity. Now, you can refer to this part of the brain, if this is helpful, as the wise old owl. It helps us to be wise. In DBT or in therapy in general, it's sort of referred to as the wise mind, which is the balance between the emotional mind and the logical mind. The prefrontal cortex is the driver. It runs what's called executive function. It runs sort of the main operations, top-down sort of like decision-making, processing, trying to understand all the information coming into the brain and into the body through neuroception and figure out what to do with it. That's what you need the prefrontal cortex for. So the wise old owl, we pretty much want to be online at all times, and we can train ourselves to have that be online much more often if we struggle with that. Things that turn on the prefrontal cortex, so if you notice that you're in a hijacked position or a triggered position where your prefrontal cortex is kind of off, then there are ways to sort of turn this on. And this is kind of the basis of coping skills. Most coping skills are going to work because they actually engage the prefrontal cortex and they calm the amygdala, which we'll talk about in a second. Name it to tame it, especially for emotions. So give your emotion a name. So I am feeling fear. I am feeling anxiety. I'm feeling jealous. And keep telling that to yourself. Write it down, journal about it. Try to just simply name the emotion that you're experiencing. The body actually goes into a less reactive state when we can give it a name, when we can name the experience that we're going through. Labeling, classic coping skill that really, really works. It's not exactly fun, but it can really work because it activates the prefrontal cortex. So label all the red things in the room. Do it right now. Go ahead. I'll wait. I'm not really going to wait. Just out loud, you would say all the red things in the room, and then you run out of red things, and you go to blue things, square things, black things, round things. Grounding is somewhat similar, and there's many ways to teach grounding, but it's about labeling things in a place that you are. It's also about labeling yourself as safe. So one of the classic grounding techniques is saying, I'm safe, I'm not in any danger, that type of thing. But wherever you're at, if you're driving, you could ground by labeling signs that you go by, or you could ground by, if you're in a grocery store, you can ground by labeling the cereal boxes or things that are of light colors. So it's pretty much labeling, but we're referring to it as grounding in a certain way because it helps ground us in sort of the moment instead of sort of like going into flights of fancy in our brain, mostly dominated by the amygdala. Counting, again, kind of similar. Count the breath, count how many cars, count how many people are wearing purple. And paced breathing is one of the best coping skills of all, one that I teach the most often, because it involves the breathing apparatus, which influences majorly, actually controls the vagus nerve, which who cares, but the vagus nerve actually controls the nervous system. And there's a video on that. If you click up there, I'll link to it if you want to know more about the vagus nerve and the nervous system. But breathing is the mechanism. It's the control lever of that nervous system. Now, paced breathing just means counted breath. So 4-7-8, square breathing, 6-1-6-1, any type of pattern. All those numbers mean is 4 is the in breath, 7 is a hold, 8 is the out breath. If there's 4 numbers, it just means in, hold, out, hold. That's what the 4 numbers mean. Typically, when you do breathing, you want to breathe in through the nose and out through the mouth. That increases nitric oxide, which shunts out of the bloodstream chemicals associated with amygdala hijack. And so really that's what the next part of the brain is. So secret number 2, the most important part of your brain, part 2, is the amygdala. This is the part of your brain associated with fear, worry, ruminations, but also fight and flight reaction. So it keeps you alive. It's sort of the reactive part of the brain. You don't want to have a doctor remove it. It's not like it's bad. It's just, it's bad when it's out of control and we don't know how to control it or balance it. That's when it becomes actually bad. So if you're in a ruminative pattern and you're just thinking, and the worry is just cascading and spiraling through you, then the amygdala is in control. Now, if you're also acting badly, if you're temper tantruming, like an adult temper tantrum, we all do them sometimes. Yours might be more extreme than someone else's, but either way, losing control a little bit, the amygdala then is in control and your prefrontal cortex is no longer in control. So again, when this is on, the prefrontal cortex basically goes off. Okay, and that's designed that way on purpose, right? Like, you don't want to take the amygdala out of your brain, because if you did, you wouldn't be afraid when a car was coming at you. You wouldn't run when there was a predator on the prowl or something like that. You wouldn't have that natural sense of get up and go without this part of the brain. You can refer to the amygdala as the wild banshee. So we have the wise old owl, and then we have the wild banshee. Who do you want to run your brain? You know, it's kind of obvious. Now, it's easier said than done, because the wild banshee, we've never really been taught how to manage the wild banshee, like in school or something. So it's a little bit hard to control. It is a banshee after all. It's like trying to train a wild horse or something. It's going to take some effort and some skill, but with time you can do it. So panic attacks are sort of the end result of runaway amygdala behavior. And it's sort of a downward spiral of the amygdala sort of sensing or perceiving fear and then becoming afraid of the fear itself. So it's like, it's just this downward spiral that sort of like, there's some general sense of the world that caused one to experience a fear, but then we became actually intrinsically or internally afraid of our own feelings of fear. And then this feedback loop begins and it goes into panic, which can be, I mean, people feel like they're dying when they have panic attacks. That's really extreme, and nobody ever wants to have a panic attack, of course. Now, if you do, or if you know somebody who struggles with panic, or even I would say really high anxiety, then it is useful to know that there are ways to sort of quick shortcut the amygdala, to turn it off quickly. Now, typically when you're learning to tame the wild banshee, you're going to do things like meditate or do positive affirmations or do something physical every time you feel like you're out of control. And those are all great sort of like medium-term strategies. Really quick, short-term strategies, though, you want to know these. Things that stop panic or high anxiety, sort of like, bam, they just stop it right in their tracks. One is holding ice or something cold. You can freeze an orange or two oranges and hold the oranges. You want to feel sort of the intensity of the coldness and the water running down your arms and really just focus on that. Take a cold shower, and I mean like cold, for 1 to 2 minutes. Of course, you could jump into a river or a lake or something like that. Be careful, obviously. You don't want to do anything that gets you in danger, which is why a shower makes more sense, because it's more controlled. But yet, you know, if you've ever taken a cold shower, you know how sort of shocking it is to the system. That's exactly the effect we want when we're trying to bring the amygdala back under control. It's almost like a shock to the system. I mean, it literally is a shock to the system that sort of gives you another chance to bring the prefrontal cortex online. And that's really the key. And then, of course, extreme movement. Now, this one might have you looking like a loon for your neighbors or something if you decide to just run as fast as possible in any direction for 90 seconds. You know, but who cares? You're trying to like do what's best for your growth and your development. And sometimes extreme movement is the best thing you can do. Maybe you happen to be outside, or maybe you happen to be by a punching bag or a exercise bike or something. Well, go as fast and as hard as you possibly can for 90 seconds, collapse onto the ground or whatever, catch your breath. That panic attack will be stopped at that point. And if it's not, if it starts to come back, do it again, another 90 seconds. So these are kind of like worth their weight in gold if you have panic, because you can circumnavigate a panic attack within a minute. You know, within 2 minutes, you can stop the panic attack. Now, you might still have to practice grounding or labeling or breathing to sort of like calm and bring your body back to like feeling okay. And that might take some time. But if we can stave off the actual breakdown point of the tipping point of the panic, then that's all good. Another one that's similar is hold your head under cold water for 30 seconds, typically a bucket. You could just put it under the faucet or something like that, and that would do the same thing. All four of those take account of a system in the body called the mammalian dive reflex, which is sort of a shock system that we all experience as mammals that we can actually activate or turn off. well, I don't know if we can turn it off, but we can definitely activate it. And so we're taking advantage of that to sort of shock the brain into a position that is more advantageous for logic. So I hope you liked that. That was really the top 2 parts of the brain. Now, obviously, the brain is super complex, and there's way more to it than just that. But that's a really basic understanding that I just think everybody needs to know. So share this video with people who you think will find it useful. Make your own video all about this and share it with your friends. I don't care. This is free information. Just we want to get that out there. We want to help people. We want to grow a world that's more in control of their wild banshee and more acting in their wise old owl. So if you'd like to get a free 60-page ebook called The Owner's Manual Part 2, this is all about learning and knowledge. It's bullet pointed a bunch of information for specific topic areas that you can check out when you get the book. It's free. All I need you to do is click the link below and the book is yours. We'll send it to your email as soon as you put in your email. So if you haven't gotten it, please get it. It's free for everybody. We want everybody to get it. If you have got it, comment below. Did you like it? Did you find it useful? Would you suggest other people get it? That type of thing. And thank you so much for watching the 2 most important parts of your brain. Hopefully this serves you in some way, shape, or form, makes your world a little bit more comprehensible. If there were an owner's manual for a human, this would definitely be a key feature in that manual. Hey, you got a brain. It's got these 2 really important parts. Learn to manage them. Give yourself patience. It takes time to learn these and get skillful with these 2 parts of the brain, but you can do it. That's what the brain is there to do. It's there to change based on your attention and your intention. That's what it does. So thanks so much for watching till the end. If you like this video, hit the like button, do the bell, do the YouTube stuff. That helps the channel grow. It helps show the algorithm gods that, people are enjoying this and they will suggest it to other people. And that's the way the cookie crumbles in the modern world. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, thanks so much for watching. We'll see you in the next one. Bye.